How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for taking the time again.
Yeah, of course. Let me start with that. I'll describe what a domain, user profile, and space is. Because in general, like if you're working with Colab, we don't have to do this setup. But with
Oh,
SageMaker, we do.
awesome.
And domain can be seen as like this upper level entity, which contains infrastructure, resources, the users, all the uh, permission policies, all within it. So the best analogy that we can draw, the way it was explained to me when I had first joined, is that we can think of domain as university campus. Like we have professors and students, they are the users. We have spaces. Spaces can be drawn parallel to departments, um, which have like specific professors and users have access to that department. And the entire university can be seen as the domain, which
Mm,
contains all the infra resources and users.
got it.
Yeah. And then since it's AWS, we have like different roles and policies. Like we can use IAM roles to define like who gets what kind of permission to what resource.
Hmm. Okay.
So that's the first setup that we have to do. So within SageMaker AI on your console itself, if we go to domains, um, I have a domain created, so it didn't ask me to set one up, but you would have to come in here, search for SageMaker AI, go into domains, and you just create a domain here.
Is this the first thing you would do? You would create the domain first before
Yeah.
the space?
Yes, you have to
Okay.
create a domain first. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah. I'll also like pull out all the useful links for the public docs that lets us that like writes down all the steps you have to follow
Oh, great.
logically
Okay.
to set up SageMaker. Yeah. So I'll just create a domain just for now, just to see how it works. Yeah, so set up like some sort of domain, and it takes a while for the domain to be active, and you can only start working on the domain once you see a status in service uh, over here.
And I'm
I
sure, like, I guess typical AWS fashion, there's a million configurations here, but you're setting up a domain with what, basically all the defaults?
all the defaults, yeah.
Okay.
So for like most personal projects, like the default setting is going to work, but there are like a lot of configurations that you can do within it. So I have this domain that's in service and ready for me to use.
Okay.
Um, and within this domain, you'll see that there is this user profile that I created. So this lets me access resources within my domain and within the space. So the like you'll get to see all that you have within your domain in this page. So it acts as kind of like an administrative hub for your um, like SageMaker usage.
And you set up that user.
Yeah, I set up that
So
user.
that was the one thing you did. You created the domain and then you created a user,
Create a new user, yeah.
and the user is added to the domain. And then again, when you set up that user, is that like another whole thing, or like did you pretty much use like default settings?
Just default, just like given your name, and we can just use the default. There
Okay.
are a lot of like sophisticated configurations, but they are only useful for like very niche purposes.
So you need at least one domain and at least one user.
At least one user, yeah, and at least one space,
Right.
which I'll show you. Like if we go here, so this is the page that'll open up when you open Studio. I can close this down. Yeah, so I had a space and notebook. I have a space and notebook running already. So when I launched Studio, it took me to my notebook instance because there's only one notebook active within my space right now.
Okay.
But otherwise, it'll open up this page. It's the SageMaker Studio homepage. And you'll see that this is the domain
Ah, right. Okay.
that it's associated with.
When you created this space, I didn't see the process. You selected the domain.
No, I'll just show you. So I created a space for Jupyter Lab, so I'm not going to do that again. I'll do, let's try and launch. Say you don't know that you have to create a space to be able to do these operations. So just go ahead and try and launch a Coder app. Then tell me that there are no spaces.
Oh, okay.
So we can just like create one right here.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, and it also allows you to like create shared spaces where
Mm.
multiple users can have access to. So you can share the like bucket data, EFS, and all of the resources.
Okay, so we're in a domain. You are creating a space within that domain, or you
Mhm.
create a space, and then we're going to start there. We're going to work within that space.
Yeah.
Okay.
So right. So for the project, for like the small task that I'm going to demonstrate, I opened up a Jupyter Lab instance. And for me to be able to work on a Jupyter Lab notebook instance, it asked me to create a space, which I did.
Mhm.
So this is my space.
I see.
It'll show up here.
Okay.
So we can just simply open it up. Yeah.
Great. So here we have a notebook. So before we get into this, what is the difference between this process, setting up a domain, setting up a user, setting up a space? What's the difference between that and going to SageMaker and going to notebooks and launching and setting up a notebook instance and launching a notebook from there?
So with SageMaker Studio, like the experience at some level is going to be the same, but with SageMaker Studio, like it gives you more granular control over all that you're doing. Like with, once you create a domain, user profile, and space, and you are performing your project or like operations within it, you have control over what things are running, what things you want to terminate. Like at domain level here, I can see that I have all of these things running, but maybe that's costing me too much. Like I don't want these things. Maybe I'm not using that notebook anymore,
Oh,
but it's still
okay.
running. So I can have granular control and like it's more efficient to track your usage and cost and restrict accessibility when you have these configurations.
So the notebook is kind of like, it's pretty easy. You basically fire it up. It'll do a lot of this stuff for you on the back end, but you don't have control over it. If you know what you're doing a little bit, you do it this way, because then you can also add collaborators and things like that within the domain and the space.
Yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Okay. So once the workspace opens up, it's going to look very similar to how a Jupyter Lab notebook looks, because this service has actually been built on top of it, like we use Jupyter Lab. And you'll have cells, you'll have like options to upload your data. So the problem we will be going through now today is that we are trying to predict whether a customer subscribes to a term deposit. The data set is from UCI. It's got like a lot of demographic data on the customers, and then their like the success rates of previous marketing campaigns and outcomes of that. So that's kind of like the basic problem statement. It's basically a binary classification project where we predict like, but yes, they're gonna subscribe to it, or no, they aren't gonna subscribe to it.
When you bring the data in on the left, maybe you'll talk about this. Where does that data sit?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what. So when I pull this data in, I pulled it in here for visibility to see like what data I'm working with.
Yeah.
But it's actually just sitting within this session. What I have done on my within the code is that I upload it to a S3 bucket, so that it's like safe and secure and not volatile. Like it isn't gonna like vanish if once the session terminates.
I got it. So
It's
you
like
could You could load it from here if you wanted to, but the next time you run this, the data will be gone.
Exactly.
You'll have to upload it again. If you put it in S3, it's permanent.
Yeah, it's permanent.
Okay.
It's a bit like in Colab. I know we also like used to upload it to Drive and then use it from there.
Right.
So it
Yeah.
stays. But like since we're using all of AWS's resources, S3, like we upload it to S3, and S3 also gives us a lot, like a lot better access control on it than just on drives.
Okay.
So yeah, if we just like from a higher level, you see all the imports I use just to give an idea of like how we work with it. You'll see Boto 3 and SageMaker. I've imported this like both of these. These are both like Python SDKs to interact with AWS services. Boto 3 is a little more low level. Like if you work with like DynamoDBs and stuff like that, like you'll be using Boto 3 client for all of it to interact with those. So I have used it just for a few of our operations just to show how we use it. And I've used SageMaker, which is more like catered to SageMaker workflows and operations.
Okay.
It's also just an SDK, yeah. And then we have our regular pandas and NumPy and Scalar, and which JL or like Jupyter Lab already supports. So we just imported this. So the first step that I did was I specified a bucket name. So the bucket I have here is the same as the name of the bucket that I'll create here. So you back on our console again, we just type for S3 and then like to load up the same page. We come to S3, we create a bucket. Again, like most of these, I have just taken up the default configuration.
Mhm.
You can always have like change the configuration to like define like accessibility and other permissions on it.
Mhm.
So, and then you just type in your bucket name, and you create it. Oh, no, okay. Yeah, these have to be unique across. That's one thing.
It has to be unique across like all buckets, right? All
Yeah.
buckets ever.
Yeah.
That's so weird.
Let's see. Okay, yeah. No one has used this before. So yeah, so it'll create a bucket for you. For the demonstration, I had created this one down here. And then once you just mention your bucket names, I have given like a prefix that the bucket should use. So like it creates like a folder for it. And then I mentioned the files to upload. So the names have to match the name of the bucket that you created. File names have to match the name of the files that we're using. Then I use Boto 3 here to create a client for S3 so we can interact with S3. And then I just have like a small loop that loops through this array of file names and then uploads it. So you just like, these are just like very simple intuitive commands.
Okay.
Yeah. So I uploaded all of those to my bucket. So, and all of those are in here. If you see, this is my bucket.
So you brought the data into Jupyter Lab, uploaded from there to the bucket.
Yeah, you can have a different path from where you upload to your
Yeah.
bucket as well. I just kept it there to keep it simple and have visibility.
Right.
This is the prefix that we had added, and within here we'll see all of our data that we upload. So that's for the data part, like uploading it to an S3 bucket. Going ahead from there, now I'm using pandas. I create a data frame. I try to read, I just check a sample of the data, like what we have in there. So this is what I do. Just simple pandas operations that we generally use. Now, we're gonna, I think I've done this twice. Yeah. So now that we have the data in S3, we know that we're being able to access it. I do like some sort of pre-processing. Like you'll see that there are some numerical data, there's some categorical data, and like gradient boosting algorithms, like a lot of them like actually boost and all, which we go ahead and use. They don't work on like textual data. So I have used like some sort of pre-processing operations, not super fancy. I just identify so the yes no column I have just converted it to binary.
I see.
And
Okay.
I've identified the categorical and numerical columns. For the categorical columns like these, I have used one hot encoding, which basically like if say month spans across April, May, June, July, August, then it creates like a table where we have these months as say the headers of the table, and it'll have 1 or 0 again. So if it's April and not any of the other months, it'll have 1 for April and 0 for other months.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. That's what we do for the categorical features. Then we have, and for the numerical features, we just standardize it.
Okay. And for everyone listening, what does that mean to standardize the numeric features?
So basically, there are some normalization numerical operations that we perform on those. So like the actual, so it still maintains the properties of the actual numerical values on like what's higher, what's lower, but it uses like a like the numbers can be huge, right? And it so say there's a value 30 and there's a value like 1029. So it'll bring it down to the standardization process is going to normalization is going to bring it down to some numbers which are easier to like store and work with for the models when they train.
Okay.
But they won't be these actual numbers, but they will store the property of these numbers. Like this is the difference between the two values.
Is it like changing the scale?
Yeah, it is kind of like that. Yeah, the way we there's scale provided on maps and stuff.
So in other words, like 1029 is bigger than 30, but it'll change those values, but one is still going to be greater than the other.
Yeah,
on a certain scale. Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So we do that because like training is easier on normalized numbers.
Okay. And then for these categorical features, marital status, education, housing, you're applying the one, what it's called one hot coding, right?
Yeah, one hot encoding.
One hot encoding. You're applying that to all of these columns. Okay.
Yeah. So we do that using pandas. There's this get dummies operation that we can use.
Okay.
So that's what we are doing here. Then we have our good old train test split.
Yep.
I do a 80-20 split for training test and just print it out just to see like what we have down there.
I see.
So after splitting the data, I again like create a folder to like store these CSVs, like the train and val DFs.
Okay. Why do we store the training and test data to files and not just keep it in memory, I guess, and work with it? So we could look back, since this is going to, if we ever start the session again, it's going to go away. So this is just so it's essentially we have a record of what the test data was and what the training data was.
Yeah, for that, yes. And also like going ahead, like I can always just like do the split and then directly go ahead and use it for training.
Yeah.
But later in this demo, we'll also see that like we are using like I'm creating like different data files that I use for different purposes. Like say for training, we don't need the headers. Like we are using these values just for training. But for when we go ahead and use SageMaker Clarify for bias detection and all, we need the headers. Like the headers are meaningful for us.
Oh, I see. Okay.
So I'm like just creating, just like one can skip doing it, but I just like created folders to store.
Yeah, it's interesting. It makes sense.
Okay. Now this like still is taken care of. Storing. Okay. And this is where it also like just printed out the path where you can go and just look for the files again in S3 bucket within your console.
Okay.
Then I created a SageMaker session and a Barto session, and I just got the execution. I'm not really just got the execution role to use it for my training ahead. And this execution role here, we haven't done a lot of we haven't given like much specifications to it. But one thing to note is that a lot of times when you're working with execution roles, it won't come with certain permissions. Like you would have to add permissions to it to be able to perform S3 bucket upload operations, like write operations on the bucket and things like that.
Okay.
So, or just like being able to use some sort of image to start a training job in SageMaker. So the execution roles are created automatically when you're doing like the initial setup for SageMaker, but then they might not always come with all sort of permissions. Like that you have to have like some sort of setup within it. Can quickly just.
So what is this? This is the default execution role.
Yeah, this is the default execution, right?
It was created for you.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. So I did not create all of these roles manually.
Yep.
So when we set up SageMaker, like all of these things created for us.
I see. This is what you kind of get for free. If you need to reconfigure this, you can add permissions.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can always like add and remove permissions as you want. So I created this one role.
I see.
I can just, to be able to perform like put operations on my S3 bucket.
Okay.
Yeah.
So when you get that execution role from SageMaker in your code, it can access your S3 bucket.
Yeah. So any kind of operation that you perform using the SDKs, it asks for a role. Like what role do I use to perform this operation? So the role has permissions tied to it.
Yep.
So if I switch the role to something else, the same operation won't work. And then permissions will work. So yeah, there's even as I demo, I realized that there are like a bit of setup that one has to do using SageMaker, but it also lets you have.
But when it says get execution role, is that getting a custom role that you just set up, or that's the default role that you added the S3 permissions to?
So one role can have multiple permissions.
Yeah.
So now it's using the default SageMaker execution role within which I added my permissions.
You added your permissions to that role.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So like say I'm setting up something for EC2, like I'm doing some sort of operation. I'm using EC2 service with an AWS intensely. I'm setting something up there within my IAM rules. I'll be able to see some EC2 like execution roles as well.
Okay.
And then within there, I can it's very service specific and operation specific.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. So I just create my sessions and roles. So we can go ahead and actually get into the training and deployment part. One other thing that I encountered where I can bring up briefly is that my AWS account that I'm using right now is actually the one I had created when I was still at Penn. So that was created in Virginia, like in Airport Code, Virginia. And
Right.
now that I'm opening up instances here and I created the sessions and clients and everything, it took a default of PDX in Oregon.
Oh,
Uh, and then when I tried executing it, what was happening was that within my console, I was creating these resources, right? Like the domains and buckets and everything. So the resources were being created in Virginia and my clients were being created in Oregon. So like I was facing access issues. So this is why I mentioned US East 1 in each of these initializations that I do. So that's also
that makes sense.
someone like people can come across. Okay. So next we'll go into training. So there are a couple of terms here I can explain. So first we have these containers, which basically is like a bundled up like an entity for us that we can use. It basically has like it has the container, like the Docker container within which there's code installed. Any environmental dependencies that we have for the specific, say XGBoost is the framework that we want to use here. Any dependencies that this would have or need is already pre-installed.
Okay. Is this the big benefit of using SageMaker, that you have access to these containers that have a model plus dependencies?
Yeah, yeah.
I see.
It has model plus dependencies, and also they have like different versions available to you. Say there's a newer version for this that has been published, but you don't want to go for it. Maybe something else in your like workflow is gonna break because of a newer dependency. So it lets you like control what exact thing you want, and then what gets provisioned to you is just like a URI which you can directly ask your training job to use. You don't have to worry about any of the dependencies.
So what you're getting here is a container, a package which contains a model and dependencies, and it can be used in a particular region.
Yeah, exactly. So I tell SageMaker to give me this, and then I store it in this container variable. Then we go ahead and we define the estimator. That again is a SageMaker specific term.
Oh, it is. Okay.
Yeah. The estimator, what it does is it takes care of training and deployment for us. Like it kind of encapsulates it all. So we can like, this is my estimator, and going ahead, we'll see like the number of operations I can perform on it. Like it encapsulates it all and lets us just like throw in commands and then get our job done. So
Oh, wow.
estimator will have the container, like what training model to use, like what other specifications do you want me to pick when I will train when I'll like start the training job? What instance do you want me to train it on? Again, like this session is associated with roles and region permissions. So all of that is encapsulated within the estimator.
So you give the container to the estimator is going to run that model, and it's going to run it on a specific instance type. And any output is going to go into that folder within your bucket,
Yes, that's right.
whatever the output is.
Yeah.
Okay. But you haven't given it the data yet, right?
Yeah, no, like that, like we haven't started training yet. We are just like defining things.
Yep. Okay.
It hasn't picked up the data yet. So that's what like that's how estimator like wraps up a ton of things for us and just with training. Then for this estimator object that I have, I also set hyperparameters. I use hyperparameter tuner that SageMaker also provides going ahead. But then if you want to have some fixed hyperparameters, like for this problem, we know that it's a like a binary classification problem. So
Okay.
I set the objective, set the num rounds. You can always like move it around. So whatever computation my instance could afford, I added it.
This is essentially additional configurations for the estimator.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. And also, one other cool thing here is that I do go with an instance type. So this is where my computations would happen. And it's a personal project, so likely that I'm not gonna use like scaling groups and add more servers to this.
Right.
But given I like expose my endpoint after I deploy it to public or like a group of people, and a ton of requests are coming in, everyone's using like their instance is running out of like capacity, then there are auto scaling groups. There's a concept of auto scaling groups within AWS, and what it does is it adds more service to it depending on demand. So you don't have to worry about like how much you're using or not using or wasting.
Okay. But this is going to use a single instance of that type, M5 log.
Yeah, that's just, so one has to be a little mindful about
Yeah, of
what.
course. Yeah.
Okay, one other thing, there are like so many details in here that I want to talk about. The instance type that you see here, you'll see that it's mentioned as ml.m5 large or ml.d3 medium, and not just D3 medium instance like we see under EC2. So what we do in SageMaker is that we pre-provision some instances. We prep it up for the customers before they could want it. If there's a possibility that they could want it, we prep it up. So anytime you see ML and then an instance type, it is a SageMaker instance. And how it's different is that it has like some SageMaker specific optimization algorithms and other like features built into it on top of an EC2 instance.
I see. These are specially provisioned instances for SageMaker.
For SageMaker, yeah. And my team actually takes care of like a big part of my job is on this. That there are enough instances, like, and we call it warm pools, like the provision set of instances. And like we constantly have checkers to see that like the pools are scaling up and down as per demand, and then like requests are being like addressed without any latency.
That's not really that important, but like at any one point, how many specially provisioned instances are there in that pool? Are we talking about 10,000 instances or something like that?
Could be. So it depends a lot on region and the instance type.
Okay.
Like in PDX and IAD, like these bigger regions, we provision more instances than in smaller regions.
Right. Okay.
Like
That makes
HYD. Yeah.
Okay.
And even for instance type, like one other thing that we also observe is that since a lot of default operations run on D3 medium, so every time there's like a new thing coming in or a new set of people starting to use our service, like D3 medium usage will spike. But that's only because of like they're like onboarding to the service. So yeah.
Wow.
So there's a difference between the specific instance type that we mentioned. It's useful to use this because first is obviously catered to SageMaker operation. Second thing is that for EC2 instances, you pay for the uptime, but for these instances, you pay for like usage. Like if there's active training or inference on it, then it like costs you to use it.
Wow. That's so cool.
Yeah.
SageMaker behind the scenes. I like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So these are just some hyperparameter ranges. I know that we all also have like tuners outside of SageMaker to like do these sort of things. Like you just mentioned the range within which you want the hyperparameter tuner to like explore and find the best pick for you.
Okay.
These are just the ranges. If I had some comments, like because I'm also like not the most knowledgeable person in model training and stuff. But yeah.
So you create these, there are additional configurations, and then what do you do with that? You create this thing called a hyperparameter tuner.
Yeah, so this is a SageMaker
Yeah.
provided service. Yeah. So we use Hyperparameter Tuner. This is SageMaker's, and we send in the estimator that we created. Then we ask it, then we give it like an objective metric name, like you should like try to maximize like accuracy or F-score or something. You could give it like a specific measure, and then just like other jobs for the tuners, like you want to maximize AUC, and these are the ranges that you would use. So we just like define the things that we want to send into the hyperparameter, and then right here we started the tuner job.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. So this starts the tuner starts training on it.
Okay. And then how long did that take to run? That was quick.
It takes a while. It depends on like what configurations you have here. Like
But how long was this quick? Was this particular job quick?
it took about, say, like I did like a very basic thing, so it took about like 10 minutes for me. But I know that for better performances, like you'd have to like increase the number of jobs or like have some checkers to see that, oh, like if you're not seeing improvement after this point, like increase the number of jobs, but have like a value that, oh, if it's plateauing after this point, then like stop running, because you're just wasting your computation resource after that. So
At this point, what is the benefit of using SageMaker for this? You can run an XGBoost model, right? You don't need SageMaker to do that. You're not going to get all these types of like, hyperparameter tuners for free, but you can do it. Like, what's the benefit of putting it here? Is it that it's so easy to scale the resources? And then you also have these additional, I guess, SageMaker objects, if you will, that you can use to configure the model and the run of the model. Are those the benefits?
yeah, for sure. Using SageMaker for these sorts of projects is mostly to make it production ready. So like say we can do the same task on Colab very easily, but we won't be able to deploy it just with
Right.
one. Like no one is going to be able to access our like prediction model that we made, or like there's no inference point being created that's accessible easily.
That's just in a static notebook.
Yeah.
That's basically code that sits in a notebook here. At this point, it's just code, but ultimately we're going to end up with like an accessible endpoint.
Yeah, exactly. And we'll also see that.
Okay, cool.
Created. Cool. So next we go on. Our training is now done. This is like we actually come to the point where we create an endpoint. So we are using predictor to so we picked the best estimator from the training job that we had created, training job that just got done before, and now we are deploying it. So this specific piece of code is what's going to deploy it to this endpoint.
What are you doing? You're deploying the model to an endpoint.
Yeah,
Okay. You're deploying a model with those configurations.
with those configurations. Yeah, like the trained model.
Trained model. Okay.
Yeah, is being deployed to that endpoint.
Oh yeah,
So,
this is great.
yeah. So I like these things here. I mentioned a endpoint name. I just check if there already is an existing endpoint, because we don't want to recreate it. And it also probably would throw you errors if you're trying to recreate it with the same name over and over again.
Okay.
And if it exists, then it tries reusing it. And if not, it will deploy the best model that the estimator found
Okay.
onto that endpoint.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's what it does. And the result of this, we can see it here. We'll just go to SageMaker AI on the left column. If you scroll down, you'll see this inference tab. You go down here, click on endpoints, and this is our endpoint.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
This is a trained model.
this is a trained model. Yeah. So like so using this model, using this endpoint, like there are two ways to use it. One, you can use like SageMaker's SDK to just do like this predictor.predict and then give the endpoint, and the dot predict will hit this endpoint, and then you'll get your result. Or you can use like a Boto3 thing again. Because like it still is within AWS, so you need like sort of like a client to be able to interact with it.
So you could use this endpoint from other services within AWS to do that same prediction.
Yeah.
What if you wanted to make this endpoint
Public.
more accessible? Yeah, public.
Yeah.
I don't even want to be in AWS at all. I just want an endpoint, a trained model, so I can do the prediction.
Yeah, sure. You'll have to like put it up in marketplace.
Oh,
And yeah, there are
Okay.
like a lot of, for like as extensive public use, you'd have to like put it up in marketplace if you want to do that, make money out of it.
yeah.
Or
For free, you can provide stuff for free as well.
provide stuff for free as well.
Okay.
Yeah. And then you'll obviously have to take care of like a lot of accessibility configurations there when you're like, putting it up for.
But I could sell a trained model.
Yeah. Just like, I mean, I'm not too sure about like all the details for it, but there is provision for you to like do that. The
Okay.
way like Hugging Face.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, this is cool.
Yeah.
But if I'm in AWS and I have, I don't know, a separate notebook or something like that, like, do I need to be in the same space? Or you're saying, I mean, depending on the permissions, I could be in a different domain, different space, different notebook. I write code. I create a Boto3 client. I could use this endpoint. I don't care how the model works. I just know there's an endpoint and it's a trained model and it works.
Yeah. So what you would have to do is like I would have to allow list your account to be able to access these resources in my account. Like that's how it would work. Or we could be collaborators working on like a shared space. Then we won't need any like permission.
I could just access it.
Yeah.
Wow, that's really cool.
Yeah. So like
I'm not familiar with this workflow. This was really cool, actually. Like I knew a little bit about SageMaker, things you could do, right? But I didn't realize, I mean, I've just never seen SageMaker loaded like that in a session and then all those different types of objects that you have access to for configurations.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, like unless you like directly work like create a project on it, it's because there's so many little like services and features that it's hard to just like read about it and get to know. So endpoints also let you like there are lots of like monitoring
I imagine.
features that it allows, like how well your model is performing, or like if there was a like a downtime, or if you're doing it like if you are selling it in marketplace or something, you would want to know if there's downtime, and like you would want to have like alarms associated with it, which just like
So the one thing you'd want to be careful of is if you make the endpoint available, you'd have to pay attention to those instance types and if it's set to scale, right?
Yeah, you should definitely have like auto-scaling groups enabled if it's up for public use. Yeah.
What do you work on your team, like specifically with this? I know we talked about it a little bit, but now I think it makes more sense to me. Like, what does your team work on within SageMaker? Like you mentioned provisioning those instances. Like what else?
Yeah, so like on the studio page itself, like the things you see here, like the features that run behind it, like those are the things we work on. Like if you
Oh, okay. Got it.
So it's a lot about like powering the platform, like everything that we
Okay.
do, just like having the resources for it, having features. Like there's also the idle shutdown time feature, the thing we talked about while using domain as like an administrative hub kind of thing to monitor like what resources you're using, how much how much is being billed against what resource. So and like these cost money, right? So there's like this feature that my team developed itself that if an instance, like a notebook instance, any sort of like an application instance is idle for a certain period of time, which the user can mention, then it shuts down on its own. It won't, yeah, it like won't delete like any of your data. It'll still store it, but it will shut down just so like cost is optimized.
So what are some of these other applications? Like, so we looked at Jupyter Lab. What is code editor?
Code editor, I believe has been built on VS Code.
These are just other IDEs.
Yeah.
Okay. Same
Yeah.
RStudio as an IDE for R programming, but essentially you have access to all the same SageMaker resources.
Yeah.
The code's going to be different. Well, it might certainly for R, it's going to be different. But you're going to be able to create a session. You're going to be able to connect to S3. You're going to be able to create a hyperparameter tuner and all that. Okay.
Yeah.
What's Canvas?
Canvas, like just another app type. I'm also like not really super because I think Canvas part within Studio, like there's a separate team that owns it, but
Oh, I see.
yeah, but they are again like an app type. They run a bit independently from like Code Editor and Jupyter Lab. Code Editor and Jupyter Lab are primarily the ones that my team works on.
Wow. This was cool. Thanks for going through this.
Of course.
Great.
I also got to learn a lot about what I'm working on as I did this.
Oh, you did? Oh, great. That's great.
Like I was able to, it was so easy to work on it because since I've never formulated like such sort of ML end-to-end workflow problems, so like I wouldn't be able to, unless I look on the internet, I wouldn't be able to find a problem statement that is doable quickly and like one can demo on it.
Yeah.
And it's like just easy to work with and but still super meaningful.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I also added like the clarify part.
Oh, what is that?
Yeah, SageMaker Clarify basically helps you detect bias and generate a report on your model, telling you that like these were so there are like different kinds of bias that could occur. So it tells you if your data set is imbalanced and there's pre-training bias like that's on the data set itself, it'll go through that and tell you that, oh, like take care of that. And then post-training bias is if like some sensitive feature like race or age or something is contributing to model training more than it should, like has contributed to the outcome of the training more than it should.
Okay. So what does this output?
So it actually, I can, so the training job actually did not run like 100% correctly for me, but we can, so there are, so what it does is within your, I had configured it in that way that within my bucket itself, it will like upload the output of the clarify job that I just ran. And it like generates like this sort of a report.
And you can run this kind of thing pre-training as well.
Yeah. Pre-training as well.
I see.
So there are like different kinds of things that you can run on it. I did it at the end, but for pre-training, like I was obviously giving it like the raw data.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. So like whatever I have run this on, it isn't super meaningful, but like this is the sort of thing it'll just like generate for you.
Helpful. Again, another SageMaker feature, right? This clarifier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Cool.
Yeah. Oh wow.
Yeah.
Nice.
So you can like work on it before.
Cool.
So that's the clarify part. One other like control you can have over your endpoints, especially if you are if you want to make it efficient, if you are deploying it for public usage, is that before deployment, we can have a checker that checks whether the trained model is good enough to be deployed.
Oh,
Like
right.
that score is good enough, or
Yeah.
if some sort of score is good enough, or there has been any improvement. But like, say we are training on like new specifications and we see no improvement or improvement has degraded, we don't want to deploy it to that endpoint.
You would just add that to your code here. Like here, you're just deploying it, right? But you would have some kind of.
Yeah, we can have like some sort of a checker here.
Gotcha.
I can add that like before I share the notebook
Okay.
reference. And then yeah, so those are like a lot of finer controls you can have, which makes it super useful. Since a lot of like API calls and stuff we want over REST endpoints, like we had discussed, like how do we even expose it as like a REST API call? This is also something I discovered. So when we perform deploy and an endpoint is created, and there's like some invocation operations that we perform on the endpoint. So this is actually a GET call. This is actually a REST API call. This right here, when we
You're basically testing the endpoint.
Yeah, we're basically testing the endpoint, and it is a REST API. When it deploys it as in the form of a REST API.
Yeah.
And when we invoke, we do REST API operations on it. So I confirmed that when I saw like these CloudWatch logs for my endpoint. So CloudWatch is again something that lets you monitor like every little thing that you're working on.
Yeah.
So yeah, you'll see that all my pings have come up as GET calls here.
Can I see the code again?
Yeah.
Call.
Yeah.
So you create the client, and then you give it the name of the endpoint,
Mm-hmm.
the content type. What's the payload?
Payload here is this, like the endpoint input here I'm doing this to get the evaluation metrics.
I see. So X test.
I give it the test data.
I see. So you're okay. So the payload is the test data.
Yeah.
Okay. You give it all the
Yeah.
test data. And then
This is the response from the inference that the endpoint gives back. And
Yep.
like this is a GET call, and also this thing we did here, right? With like a dummy sample like this.
Right.
With using test data. So this would also show up as a GET call. Just predicted or predict. Predicted or predict is basically the SageMaker SDK to invoke the
Right.
inference endpoint, and this is the Bodo 3 SDK.
Right. So you're testing it on like both sides. The
Yeah.
built and then from inside, and then imagine you're on the outside and you're going to test it. This is like testing it from the outside.
Yeah.
And then, so what does the response look like from the outside? When you call the endpoint,
Yeah.
like you're storing in a response, are you printing that response?
I have not printed that response.
What is that gonna look like? The same?
You're
giving it all the test data.
Yeah. So it's gonna like give out the inferences on the test data.
Okay.
But it might not be, because I do see like I have done some sort of parsing before I like run my evaluation metrics on it.
Okay. So you're getting the response, you run the evaluation on that, which uses the test data.
Yeah.
Okay. That's cool.
Yeah.
That's good. I was going to ask you about calling the endpoint. Like, what does the code look like? So
Yeah. This would be the part. I can like add more
that's
comments.
all you would need. If someone else wanted to use this endpoint, that all they need is the endpoint name.
Yes. Permissions, SDK client,
Right.
endpoint name. That's it.
Do they need to know the format of the body? Like, is that fairly generic?
It would be fairly generic, yeah. But like, for sure, like, if there are incompatible types being sent for like inference on the endpoint, then the results aren't going to be as expected.
Right. Okay. Cool.
Yeah, that's like these are like all of the additional SageMaker features that make it nicer. Like the check I mentioned about here to deploy only the best model, like SageMaker does, like you can do that with SageMaker pipelines. So pipelines would like keep going back and forth for you. Like it'll see if it's better. It'll go back, it'll tune, it'll train, come and see if it wants to deploy again. So you just like give in the pipeline code and you don't have to worry about it.
So you want to give it different data. You're just going to update the data and rerun the training.
Yeah, you update the data, or you want it to like, you give like a bigger range, or you change the hyperparameter tuners, or you ask the hyperparameter tuner to do something different since the prediction wasn't good the last time.
Right.
So it'll go back and forth for you and like take care of deployment only in the best case scenario.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Great.
I hope it was helpful in some way.
Yeah, I learned a lot. This is great. And I'm glad you learned something.
Yeah, I definitely learned a lot. I was working on things, but I was so removed from what the user experience is actually like. So I got to know about that.
All right. Well, have a good day.
Okay, sounds
Right.
good. Thank
Thanks.
you. Bye.
Bye. Thanks for watching. If you like this, be sure to subscribe. More interviews and demos coming soon.